Hey, scrappy people, it's Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with part 2 of my Pride spread. This side is going to be a 9x12 layout, and I am using mainly the Love is Love collection and the Pride collection from Sweet Shop Designs. They will be linked in the description box below, and I am working in Photoshop for this layout. Again, just like my last digital layout, this is not going to be a tutorial video. I have tons of tutorials on how to use Photoshop that cover pretty much the basics of what I'm doing here already. So this is going to be another video where you get to watch me make a pretty layout, just like my paper videos, while I talk you through my process. So what I'm doing here is creating a bunch of paper layers, and I'm feeling like it is slightly too too bright, not too bright, but like too whimsical. That's the word I'm looking for. Too whimsical for the vibe that I've got going on here. So I'm creating some more neutral layers on top of this red, on top of this rainbow layer. But I am going to change that rainbow paper here in a minute, and the orientation of this layout altogether. Plus, I'm going to make it 9x12 instead of 12x12 because I wanted to, because the way that the orientation ended up, it worked better as a 9x12. Going to add this little XOXO down in the bottom. This is a companion layout to the last video I posted, which is a 12x12 pocket layout, so I don't really need to add too much more detail, so I'm just making sort of a pretty layout here. So it comes out pretty simple, and I like it that way, but because it's simple, that is part of the reason that I made it a 9x12 instead of a 12x12, because I had a lot of extra space on the layout that I felt like I didn't need. So I thought about adding this paint here, but it was just too much for the vibe that I was going for. So I'm going to end up doing something different with paint, but I am not going to keep this specific paint. So I'm going back and forth between the Love is Love collection and the Pride collection, trying to find things that I want to add to this layout. I'm not quite feeling like it's the vibe that I want is coming across. So I'm kind of struggling going back and forth. I do end up mostly going with the Love is Love collection here after a minute, because of that bold striped paper that you can see over there on the right hand side. It matches the balloons almost perfectly in the windows. So I'm going to make that connection here. I'm going to go vertical with this stripe and horizontal with this, and look at that. So I do need to adjust the colors a little bit so that they match the balloons a little bit better. Obviously the balloons go to purple and not fuchsia, so I'm going to adjust the fuchsia into purple just like I did with the last layout, and I'm going to reduce the saturation just slightly so that it's not quite as bright here. So I'm moving everything around, making sure it's all centered before I get started. Changing it to 9x12, and then when I do that, I'm just going to resize this paper. Now I'm really liking this a lot better than I did before. I feel like it's finally starting to come together with my vision, which is what we're always wanting, right? So I'm going to go in and adjust these colors. I'm going to turn this purple with the hue saturation slider. Take down the saturation just slightly so that it's not quite as vivid. There we go. All right, so now we're matching the balloons, and I really love the way that the stripes echo the balloons so perfectly. I'm going to add these little hearts in a line along the middle of my photos where it says equality. And again, I'm going to adjust that fuchsia into purple. Just little details that make the layout come together that I love being able to do in Photoshop with digital scrapbooking. It's just slight changes, making everything a little bit smaller, making the color work just a little bit better. Obviously, I got to rearrange that XOXO stamp in a way that fit my layout a little bit better. Typing directly on the layout makes me so happy. I want it to say, you know, I can't resist a good photo op. And I'm kind of was thinking like if you had written on like a Polaroid, that was the vibe I was going for. All right, changing, always going back and adjusting the hue and saturation of this paper. I wanted to combine that newsprint with the grid paper, so I just dropped it on top and lowered the opacity a little bit so that it was just kind of nice and in the background. Going to adjust that fuchsia heart into purple. Looking for anything else I want to add here. I decide to go full digital here in a second and add some ribbon, some curly ribbon in. But first I'm going to create a rainbow gradient kind of paint splatter. So I'm going to merge these 2 paint layers together, or 4 paint layers together, I'm using the white and the black, into one big blob. And then I'm going to add a gradient overlay in rainbow. And I'm going to, first I'm going to add in, I have to make sure that we've got the colors, so I'm going to add a color for every stripe of the rainbow. So I'm kind of looking for one that has multiple colors here so I can just start there. So I'm just going to go in and sample each of these colors. I need to add one more for the purple. You can see that it has like sort of a gradient across the page, but I do need to adjust the sliders because I want to make sure that all of the colors are peeking out in or from behind the paper. So I want to make sure that, you know, it's not just green heavy or yellow heavy like it's reading right now. So I'm moving the sliders around to adjust where the color starts on that gradient overlay. Okay, this is coming out really cool. I'm loving it. Not quite sure how I want to finish it yet. So I try out some tape. Meh. Looking around, trying to find something to incorporate here, and I really like the addition of this black curly ribbon. So I'm going to put that behind everything, sticking out from behind the papers on both sides with that paint as well, so it kind of echoes the paint. Cute. Framing both of my photos. Kind of like you would do in real life with, a lot of people do it with string, like thread for your sewing machine. Gosh, my brain is fried. I keep trying to incorporate more embellishments, but it's just not kind of coming together the way that I want it to. So I add things, I delete things, I add things, I delete things. That's kind of the process with digital scrapbooking and scrapbooking in general, but a little bit faster with digital scrapbooking, I think. Going back and forth and deleting things because it's so much easier to just drop it on there, go, oh, nope, I don't like that, and then go back and erase it or delete it. Thought maybe I would add in this tape instead. I add it to the top and the bottom before I decide that I don't like it. I was like, nah, I don't think so. Moving everything around, trying to make it work, but it's just not loving it, so I delete it. I'm going to move everything. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to delete some extra craft paper down here, make that mat a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to make my words frame that ribbon. And I think this brings it together pretty well. I'm happy with it, and that's about it. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There are links to these collections in the description box below, and I will see you next time. All right, thank you.